Three, two, one. Beautiful. Welcome to the Back Chat with the Back Doctor. I'm your host, Dr. Oz, and with me today I have Lance, our clinical associate. And Lance, if you could give a bit of a brief introduction about yourself as well.
Yeah, too easy. So as Dr. Oz said, my name's Lance. I'm one of the clinical associates here at the Back Doctor and have been for about 4 years now. So love working here every day. It's a blessing.
And one of the reasons why I brought you on for this week's episode is really all about gut health. Now, the topic is very broad, and from what we're going to be talking about in our next workshop is really all about how important and how essential it is to people's well-being, to people's health. So could I get you to just give a brief overview of what gut health is all about?
Yeah, well, as you said, it's a very broad topic, particularly pertaining to the gut, because there's so many organs, right, in and around your stomach.
Yep.
And what we'll really be focusing on more specifically, particularly with this gut health workshop that we do have, we're going to be looking at all types of gut disorders, okay, whether this might be something like IBS, right, other things like Crohn's, okay, digestion issues, acid reflux, and we'll really be finding out, well, why are all these conditions happening, right? What's the cause of all of this and the reason that it's all starting in the first place? Yeah.
Awesome. And let's actually get into a bit more of the anatomy. Okay, so does the gut health really start when it's in the stomach, or does it actually start before that?
Yeah, great question. So obviously before any type of food can get into your gut, into your stomach, right, it has to be ingested, right? So this comes from your mouth. And what's really important to remember about gut health overall, okay, is, yeah, you might even have, right, no specific gut problems, okay, to start with, but out of nowhere, years and years later, you just all of a sudden will start getting indigestion, reflux, and all those other types of things. So that's what's really important about this workshop, because I think a lot of the population suffers from IBS, right, gut-related issues. I think it's becoming more and more prevalent in today's society.
It definitely is. Like, we're getting a lot more people having different types of issues with their organs, their bowels, their bladder. Yeah. And actually, you know, just saying that, it even starts before ingestion. Yeah. It's like the type of foods that you eat as well.
Yeah.
What can you say about that?
Yeah, well, I mean, you look at the quality of the foods that are available compared to 100, 200, 300 years ago, however far back you want to go. What's in our food that we're eating, right?
Processed. You know, they're produced like genetically. There's, as far as I remember, chemicals being put into like the soil.
Yep, you're spot on. The list goes on and on. All the preservatives that we add into our foods, okay? Just the processing from day one, from where it all begins. And I mean, the foods that we're eating, well, I mean, how are they being grown is also the other thing too. So there's a lot of lack of information and awareness, I believe, around that. And I think this is a massive contributor to why we see so much more gut and gut health issues.
And it's strange to think that, you know, like, I've got gut issues and I've got people coming to the chiropractor for that as well.
Yeah.
But the big thing that we find is that the most current research is showing that the gut health, it's also known as your enteric system, is almost like the third part to your nervous system.
Yeah.
So your nervous system is split into two parts. It's split into your parasympathetic, which is your resting, your digesting, your healing. Then it's also split into your sympathetic, which is like your flight, you know. And then they're saying that the gut health, the enteric system, is like the third part, where your gut has such a big impact into how healthy you are and how well your body functions, that it's actually communicating directly with that nervous system. So they're calling it the third part
Yeah.
of the nervous system these days. That's what the current research is showing.
Yeah, and that's spot on. There's been a lot more research now into the enteric nervous system, which is like the brain of your gut, essentially. And I think there might even be more neurons in your gut wall than the rest of your body combined, possibly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's really important to establish, you've got your gut system, and then you've also got your nervous system, which your gut system can't function without your nervous system.
You know how you mentioned like the same neurons?
Yeah.
There's also the brain-blood barrier,
Yep.
and your gut has the same barrier.
Yep.
So there's this direct link between the two. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting world in the gut world. Like, you've got obviously all these gut bacteria, right? You've got good bacteria, you've got bad bacteria, or what's perceived as unhealthy bacteria. And a lot of people think that if they have gut issues, it's because of other things like how they might be eating, right? Other associated factors like even exercise. But it's always important to as well look at, well, how's your nervous system functioning? As you mentioned, you've got your parasympathetic and you've got your sympathetic. What type of world do you think we live in now? Does a parasympathetic or a sympathetic world?
I would say sympathetic,
Yeah.
because everyone's living more stressful lives,
Yeah.
and I think it's getting more stressful every year.
Yeah. And you can probably understand and see why that, all of these stresses that we have, it's putting us into sympathetic overdrive, which obviously is not going to be healthy for any of our systems, let alone our gut.
100%.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just backtrack to what you said about bacteria.
Yep.
I think a lot of people get surprised when we say you've actually got good bacteria and bad bacteria sitting inside your gut, but it's not really bad bacteria.
Yeah.
What can you open up on that about?
Yeah. Well, it's a perception that people will have essentially about bacteria, thinking that bacteria is a bad thing. But it's more about the ratio of those bacteria you have in your stomach and your gut, because, look, we have food that goes all the way into our gut. We need something that will actually break that down, right? And this is where bacteria comes in. It helps to keep our gut wall nice and healthy and protects us, basically, from gut-related issues.
Massively, yeah. And something that I see a bit more common is, we got this current rule now not to overprescribe antibiotics. One of the reasons is, the resistance of bacteria, but the other reason is because if you're taking too many antibiotics, you're actually breaking down that gut microbiome. You're killing off the good bacteria that's in your gut.
Yeah.
And from what I remember is that starts to affect how well your body functions, how well your immune system is, how well your body digests. Like, it's the other part of the nervous system is what they're calling it. It affects everything else happening in your body.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I missed on that?
No, on the ball, absolutely. I mean, you see how many people go to their GP because they've been unwell, ill. What happens? They get prescribed antibiotics, right? First thing, antibiotics. And then weeks later, all of a sudden, I've got reflux, I've got indigestion issues, I've got an inflamed stomach now. It's like, why is my stomach inflamed? Right? I've only just been taking antibiotics. My diet's been the same. I'm exercising the same. And yeah, that's the sad truth. These antibiotics, right, harming and targeting all of those bacteria that you have down in your stomach.
But let's say, you get a bacterial infection. Antibiotics do wonders for that, right?
Yeah.
But what are some ways to counteract the antibiotics, right? So you can start to get good bacteria back into your gut. So, what are some strategies and tips that people can do, right? Because if they get sick and they have a bacterial infection, they use antibiotics to obviously get rid of the infection, but at the same time, that also targets the bacteria in your gut.
Yeah.
So what are some ways to repopulate, re-strengthen your gut health?
Yeah. So repopulating those healthy bacteria that you want inside of you, essentially. So many different ways you can do this. One of the most essential ways would be through nutrition, and this is what we touch on, particularly with gut health, digestive issues, is making sure that your nutrition is as optimal as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be things like pro and prebiotics. So probiotics are those healthy bacteria, those healthy microorganisms that you do want. These can be found in foods, right? And at the same time, you've also got what we call prebiotics. Now, prebiotics is the fuel for the probiotics. So you want to be making sure, right, that if you're taking probiotics, you're also taking prebiotics at the same time. This can be supplemented. I always prefer to get my nutrients via my diet, as opposed to just relying on supplementation all the time. But yeah, starting off with a diet that's rich in probiotics and prebiotics.
What are some good examples?
Oh, so you've got all your fruits and your vegetables to start with, all right? Whole foods, yeah, whole foods particularly. So yeah, you've got, well, how many fruits are there in the world and how many vegetables are there? Particularly your greens. Your greens are awesome, okay? You know, our parents told us when we were younger we should be eating our greens more. I didn't listen. I don't think a lot of people listen, but yeah, definitely targeting those green foods, particularly with all those fibrous types of vegetables and fruits. Yeah,
makes a massive difference. Then, what about, like we spoke a bit about earlier, right? Do we go for more like organic fruits, or do we try to find like the more, some of them are more processed fruits?
Yep.
Yeah, is there such a big difference between the two, or are we still getting relatively good amount?
Yeah, no, another great question. Yeah, there's been a long debate regarding the organic versus the non-organic fruits.
Yep.
Particularly, I believe there was a time period where, there were organic foods, but they weren't being certified properly as organic. So there's a bit of misinformation out there. But yeah, a lot of the research now is showing organic is one of the best ways to go if you can. Obviously, there's a different price point, which can have an influence depending upon your household, for example. But yeah, I mean, really trying to minimize the amount of pesticides, chemicals that are quite prevalent in a lot of foods that we grow today.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of the stuff that you see is like the fruits and veggies got to look good. If they look good, that's what really attracts you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're actually looking for the nutrition. Yeah. So something that's been discovered more recently in the last, I think, 5-10 years is the amount of nutrients that you get from all processed foods is less than what it was 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? So even though you're eating the same amount, the amount of nutrition, the amount of health you're getting from them has decreased.
Yep.
Massive. So what would be a good routine? What would be a good, just as a general look at of how many greens you should be eating, how many fruits you should be having? What would be a good way to keep that gut health?
Yeah. So relating to the intake that you want on a day-to-day basis, really it is all about consistency. Making sure that you're constantly feeding those bacteria in your stomach. So look, ideally, you want to get, the recommendations is at least 5 servings, but you can go anywhere from 5, 6, 7, 8, up to 10 servings some people will have of these vegetables throughout the day. And you can break it up over the course of the day. So just after breakfast, you can have a small type of salad. Lunch, incorporating your broccoli, all right? And then when you get to dinner time, even before dinner, having more of those greens. But it's always important to make sure you've got some variety in there. Yeah. So go across the rainbow, yellow, orange, green, right? All those different types of colors. But yeah, having a structured plan for your meals is the best way of building the habit.
And we just talked really about like the whole chemical side of stress in a person's life. How does like the emotional stress impact your gut health?
Yeah, that's a massive question. Yeah, so emotional stress. I mean, the amount of people that I see day to day who come in who are unfortunately depressed, right, riddled with anxiety, and this is becoming more and more common in our country. And they'll be like, well, you know what, I've got terrible indigestion. I'm always constipated. Okay, it's really a struggle for me. And then they often ask themselves, you know, I'm having gut issues at the same time that I'm struggling with my mental health, you know, my relationships, my emotional health. And this really comes back to the nervous system, to be clear and simple, right? Which system in your body deals and copes with stress?
It's the nervous system.
It's the nervous system, all right? It helps to regulate stress throughout your body and regulate everything else. So if you are psychologically, mentally, emotionally struggling, you have to find out why, obviously, but that damage you're putting on your nervous system, that stress you're putting on your nervous system, is the same nervous system that's sending messages to your gut. Yeah.
And you know what, I could definitely relate at times when there's high levels of stress, the actual gut, the bowels, the bladder, all of that, they don't work as well because your body is more in that sympathetic state versus more of a relaxed state. So, because like, if you go really basic level, animal level, right, when you're in a sympathetic state, you're in a stress state, the last thing you want to do is go bathroom.
Yeah.
Right? Last thing you want to do is digest food.
Yeah.
Priority is go, go, go. So it's literally just basic. And in today's society, it's so modern, so phones and technology, right? Just boom, constantly working, always stress. So beautiful, Lance. I love that. And different way of looking at, you know, your health. So it's really good.
Yeah.
And then I guess the last stress that can impact people's lives is physical. How can the physical aspect affect the body and the gut health?
Yeah, spot on. And yeah, physical stresses, physical traumas, okay? Obviously, you got your big ones, right? i.e. car accidents, slips, falls, okay? Which can obviously put a lot of stress and damage onto your body. However, 90% of the time, it's what we call the micro traumas, right? And this is what you just mentioned before. How often are we on our phones, looking down, engaged in a world that's not presently around us, right?
Hours on end.
Yeah. We're very distracted and constantly engaged into our technological, digital lives. And because of this disruption that we have, it unfortunately has led us to become a more unhealthy society. But at the same time, like I said, it's impacting our gut health to the point where sometimes you might even not go to the toilet because you're so enthralled in this world of a digital nature. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, is there any final comments that you'd like to make? Any last tips of advice that people can really start to implement starting as soon as they watch this video? Yep. Well, one of the most important things when it comes to your gut health, obviously, is your nutrition. That would be a starting point. So, what are you eating day to day? Are you eating highly processed foods, right? Are you eating excess amounts of sugar, right? Are you even staying hydrated enough, right? Start off with those easy, simple things that you can eliminate or start implementing, what we call low-hanging fruits. And then the other thing I would also start to look at is also keeping tabs on your digital life as well. So how much phone usage are you doing? How much sitting down are you doing? How sedentary are you? Because these things in the long term, unfortunately have no positive impacts on our gut health in any way at all. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Lance. Thank you so much for today.
No worries.
Champion as always.
Yeah.
See you later.
Thank you. Pleasure.